I've never attempted this before. I have a couple of ratchet straps hanging from the trusses, attached to the handlebars on my little GT80, and I'm going to try and raise the front end up. Oh! Had one on the back wheel to hold it back. She just gave way. It's alright. It's alright. Everybody stay calm. Well, it kind of looks like I'm torturing the motorbike a little bit, but I think it's going to work. Welcome back to my channel. I'm the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee, without a doubt. Today we're going to be working on my 1980 Yamaha GT80. Let's start with the front end. I've always been curious what's wrong with a Speedo. Maybe it's the cable. Let's check it out. To my surprise, the cable's still there. I don't know if it's intact, but it's still there. Well, I think I found the problem. The cable is actually broken right on the inside. Kind of like the Benny. Let's spin the front wheel, look inside this hole, and see if that square is turning. And it is, so that part's good. Allow me now to spin the cable and we'll see if the Speedo is good. We know now that not only do we need a cable, but also our drill will reach speeds up to 40 miles an hour. I noticed the wheel sounded quite crunchy earlier when I spun it. Listen. Let's figure out what's going on with that. Remove the splitty pin. Let's see what on earth is going on here. Ooh, good brake shoes. Our bearings appear to be El Junco, so they need to be replaced. There they are. One. By driving the bearing out like I just did, we preserve this seal, which we may replace anyways, but that's one way to do it. My goodness, these bearings are such crap. I can't believe we nearly hit 50 miles an hour using these bearings. We'll take all this stuff apart real quick. Yeah. Guess that's it. I don't want to ruin this seal, so I'm just going to clean everything up and we'll put it back together. We'll get back to the front brakes and components later. Let's get these forks off. 10mm bolt. 17mm socket. 14mm socket. See what happens. Well, they came out. That's what they're supposed to do. Both shocks are dry as a bone, no fluid in them whatsoever. Let's tear into these and see what's going on. These little pieces right here will just unscrew. This side already came off, just was hand tight. This one's stuck. Here's an old inner tube. Some big channel lock pliers. Screwdriver. Let's see. And there you go. Be nice if you had a vise and all the right stuff, but I don't. It's okay. We still get the job done. There we are. We still get the job done. So this will slip right off. There's a little plastic bushing there. This tube will just slide off of there too. There's a spring here, some nasty dirty oil. I don't think there's anything else here. These seals will just knock them right out from the back side. Knocking the seal out is nothing. It's easy to do. Filming it and knocking it out seems impossible. There you go. Finally came out. Now listen, when you knock the seal out, make sure you're pushing against the seal and not this lip inside of here that the seal goes up against. You don't want to break that off in there. Here they are all apart. Let me get them cleaned up and I'll show detail when we put them back together. It has been a couple weeks waiting on parts, and I wanted to share with you why and what happened. We had a little misfortune. I try to take the cheap route on the fork seals, and they will tell you that they will fit, but they will not. These are some kind of eBay specials or something, or Amazon. I can't remember which ones they are, but they do not fit. And I think they're only like 1 millimeter bigger, but they just absolutely will not fit. So I had to spend more money and get original factory parts, Yamaha parts, and these should fit just fine. You're always better off just to get the factory parts, whether you like it or not. You might as well spend the money once instead of twice like I did. A little butter, a little grease. Moment of truth. Failure. Let's try it again. A little lube for the inside of the seal there for assembly purposes. And there she is. I bottomed it out to that lip inside of this housing, and we're ready for reassembly. Time now to assemble this pile of parts. First, little tube. Next, a little washer. Taking a peek down in there to make sure my washer is flat. Next, this little piece right here, I called it plastic, but it's not, it's metal. And it goes with the top down like a hat, just like that. That's the way it fits on there. Now our tube. This is a seal and it's a flat seal. I put grease around it. It should be replaced. Would not hurt one bit to make sure everything's lubed up with oil, but we're in a hurry here, so I'm going to keep going. Next, our seal and housing. Not getting crazy, but we're going to snug it down a little bit with some channel locks. Dust boot. So there you have it, a beautifully, easily rebuilt motorbike fork. Make sure your rubber is on the top bolt for your forks to seal the oil, and I will put a little grease around it too. Of course, it's best to replace it, but I didn't get replacements. We will have to take this back out when we fill it up, but I like to tighten it up. That way it gets in the right position before you tighten this bolt and this bolt. Be mindful of this little lip right here. It fits up in the triple tree. You don't want to get it off sideways or crooked or anything like that, so be careful when you're assembling it. I can't help it, I always like to check stuff with a wrench. If I use a zip gun, just so I know exactly how it feels. Probably should torque these bolts to spec, but I'm not doing that either. Notice this little piece of metal right here coming from the headlight assembly. It needs to be even with this right here, the bottom of your triple tree, before you tighten up your 10 millimeter bolts. What 10 millimeter bolts? They're actually not 10 millimeter, but the head is right here, one on each side, just like we disassembled it. Back to our front brake assembly. I did end up kind of ruining this seal when I cleaned it, so we're trashing it. I got a new Yamaha OEM part to replace it. We might as well go a little deeper now that we did that. I'm going to take this snap ring off. Now this little piece here, there's a washer and then this other little piece on top of it, below it I mean. I think our gear will come out now. There's our gear. The reason I'm taking this stuff apart is so I can clean it all up and grease it, and we're actually going to do this job properly and right, if you will, so to speak. This little gear right here, the drive gear, is removable, but I'm not going to do it in this case. I don't want to do any damage to it, and I don't think it's necessary. We're going to clean it the best we can, grease it up, should be fine. If you did decide to remove it, it would come out through this hole right here, and I'm not 100% sure what retains it, but I know you would take something loose here and then pull it out. All cleaned up, I'm going to put a little white lithium grease here and on the other side to kind of force grease into those spots where I can't get it directly in. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't get it on the lens. Good quality wheel bearing grease, or some kind of good quality grease anyways. Flat washer. Gear. Little piece right here's got 2 flat spots on it. Line it up on your gear. You'll feel it when it drops into place. And it'll turn the gear when properly located. Flat washer. Snap ring. Make sure it's seated. Usually what I do is spin it like that. If it'll spin in the groove, you can kind of tell it's seated. I'm going to gob a little bit of extra grease in there because it won't hurt anything. Our brand new seal. Before this can be installed, we need to get the new bearings in the wheel. Wait a minute, we forgot the brakes. No. I would never recommend sanding your brake shoes because it's very possible they have asbestos. Brake shoes all installed and ready to go. When you install the shoes, be sure that this is in the right position where it lines up with the cable deal, because it could actually be 180 out. Before we can install this, we need to get the bearings in the wheel. New bearing driver. You'll be able to tell when it's bottomed out and then stop driving the bearing in. Next, our little spacer. You don't want to forget this. Putting grease on it just to keep it from rusting. That's the only reason. The way this came out was like this, and I couldn't imagine it would matter which way it goes on there. I don't know why it would, but I'm going to put it back in how I took it out. Bearing driver. We'll flip her over, put the seal in right here. Just take note, there's 2 protruding things here, and remember that little deal we put in here, they just need to be staggered, you know, so they don't touch each other. That's it. Remember to put your little spacer in right here on this seal side. Line this slot up with the slot on the forks, or fork I should say. Washer, nut, splitty pin, best to use a new one of these if you have one. I'm just not. I have one, but this one's alright. The crunching is now gone. Listen how smooth this thing is now. Look. Quiet as a mouse. Oil your cables up if you need to. I'm not happy with the amount of cable adjustment I have, so I'm going to try and take this off, move it one little slot over, and then put it back on and see what we have then. Not bad. Brand new speedometer cable, and she is dry as a bone. So I'm going to remove it, put some grease on it, and reassemble. I'm excited to spin the front wheel and see the speedometer work. Aftermarket junk. Never fits right. Seems no matter how I route this cable, it's too short. Aftermarket garbage. Money wasted once again. I just forced this piece of crap in there for now, dang it. We're gonna see it work. What do we got? Hopefully we got a little movement. Time to start taking my own advice. Factory parts only, if available, instead of buying aftermarket garbage and paying twice. Having to buy the garbage, throw it out, and then buy one that fits properly. Excuse me now while I go and puke. Should use fork oil. I'm a rule breaker. I'm going to use ATF, automatic transmission fluid. About 3 3/4 ounces of oil. Maybe 3.5 is what you're supposed to put in there, each fork. Whoop! Let's see how we did on the forks. They feel better, but they still clump when they come to the top. Does anybody know why that is? I know they're rebuilt properly. I might have to put some thicker oil in there. I'm going to drain this fluid out and try hydraulic oil. I think this fluid is just too thin for these forks. Let's see how that works. Sometimes when I get frustrated, I do stupid things. This is one of those times. Look at the mess I made. Oh, shoot. Ah. No harm done. No harm done. Not yet anyways. Woof. Not the best decision I ever made. Not the worst. So this is what I put in it. 303 hydraulic tractor fluid. Not suitable for any tractor, but I thought it would work on the forks. Let's see how it turned out. Let's see if all this mess was worth it. I think they're better, probably not perfect. My suggestion, get 10 weight oil like the manufacturer suggests, which is probably fork oil would be best. I'm just trying to be cheap. But as far as I can tell, these forks are always going to have a clunk to them when they go all the way up. I think that's just the way that's made. So the front end's in pretty good shape. We have a lot more work to do to it still. Next time I'm going to start working on the back wheel, the chain and sprockets, things like that. Check the bearings and brakes back there. Wiring, we're going to go through all the electrical on it and make turn signals work, brake lights work, headlights work, horn work. Still quite a bit more work to do on this mighty little Yamaha Enduro before we are tearing up the neighborhood. So stay tuned and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.